Claire's like, one, I'd never do that. And I'm like, what's wrong with my girlfriend, Claire? Huh? You want to steal my girlfriend?
Sounds even worse as we progress. But whatever.
Okay, everybody knows already that I would. but if I'm gonna, I'm gonna do it with a little bit of respect.
I respect that.
How it goes. I feel like none of this is okay for the podcast.
Literally zero.
This is all on you. This is all on y'all. For the record, I now remove myself from the situation because, like you guys said,
so you guys were like white people for Halloween. How'd that go?
Fuck you,
Claire.
Like
there was no white face involved.
I will start there. If you're just tuning in, I'm your host Logan, and this is the Milk and Toast podcast. I'm here with my two best friends. Say hi to the people, Claire.
Hey guys.
Say hi to the people, Mitch.
Sup?
How you guys doing? Like,
fuck you.
Oh, okay. Damn. Well,
good,
tell them where they can find us, then, Claire. Shit.
So as usual, you can find us anywhere you can get your podcasts. So the Spotify, all that good stuff, Apple Podcasts. We are on social media, so we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those places. We're basically everywhere. All you got to do is search The Milk and Toast or The Milk N Toast. Not Toast, Toast. That's my bad. My voice just sort of ran.
We could be Toast.
We're Toast. Not spelled
Milk and Toast.
Like T-O-O-S-T. Still Toast, but like you pronounce it Toast. Anyway. Yeah. Sorry, this is a really bad one. Yeah, come find us. Shit. Oh.
I'm gonna get you a little paper for it. I really am.
I had a little paper for it, but I've lost it.
Oh my god.
It'd be like that sometimes, man.
I found it. Where is it? Where's my paper? Why is there so much stuff on this piece of paper? Well, papers, but oh shit, this is old. Why? Logan's completely just gone.
He left?
You know what? We'll fix it later. That's...
She's like, this is like a Bill O'Reilly moment for her. She's like, fuck it, we'll do it live. Fuck it.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
And he was already live. Like,
I'm like really warm. Like
my homeboy put me onto that. Shit's funny.
Oh.
Now that you guys mention it, I too am also slightly warm.
It's a little toasty.
It's because like the seasons are changing and we don't know like how to acclimate.
I know,
right away.
Like,
yeah.
Stop.
That's enough heat.
Not doing that anymore.
Are you guys okay? Like,
yeah, man. Are you okay?
Mentally? Like, do you want me to get into how many ways I am not okay? Well, I could do that if you like, but I think we should.
We have time for that.
No, the fuck we don't. Don't lie to me.
We were already talking about Halloween, so I don't feel like we should stop. Where were you for Halloween, Claire? Because I didn't see anything from you.
I didn't actually just left this year. Yeah. I know.
What?
It's the best.
Even I bullshit a costume.
He did.
So, if you know me, which majority of you do, because you either know me, Logan, or Mitchell. I mean,
no, there's some people that don't know us. We're kind of, we're doing well. Yeah, we're getting there.
Anyway, if you know me, every year since I was about, I want to say 16, but honestly, like just that era, like I can't remember the exact age, maybe 17, who knows. I've done like a makeup look, not necessarily like a costume look.
That counts. That's definitely.
I wish we were on video right now so I could show cute photos of myself looking scary and sexy. But anywho.
Well, spooky sexy, says Claire. That makes sense. That makes lots of sense.
I've done a makeup look. And the last 2 years, so 2020 and 2021, I just haven't. And I just, last year for obvious reasons.
Right.
And then this year was because it was Ben's birthday. And then by the time, like, that celebration finished, we were on to the next celebration, and I just wanted to like, couldn't be fucked. Like, I think I was still just drunk from before. Like, I didn't have time. I was like, I was busy drinking.
Understandable. Understandable.
Yeah, one of those times where I just
Me and Sarah
having
have
too much fun, I guess.
Me and Sarah have picked out our costumes for next year. It's
Already?
because we rushed to do a costume this year, and we didn't really want to do the ones we did, but we did them anyways. And
She would make a cute Claire.
she was, that's who we were. Like,
I know who you were. I knew the
Well,
second.
it's not in the show because I started the show like 5 seconds ago. But like,
Yeah, but I knew even as soon as you said Breakfast Club, I knew. Like,
you knew she was the Claire.
Yeah, she's got the hair for it.
Well, who was I?
Bender.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn.
You know why? Because Claire and Bender end up together in the movie. It's called Logic.
That's true.
Spoiler.
Oh,
That movie's like
If you-
40 years old. Like,
If you haven't
you
seen the Breakfast Club, you just don't want to watch it. Like,
Yes.
Which is true, nonetheless. Spoiler.
Invalid if you don't want to watch that white ass movie. That's a white movie. Like, it is.
And it's real. It's a lot. It's not even that good. No, like I'm
It's
popular
a lot
opinion
happens.
alert.
A lot happens. in the movie. That's what it is.
I really think it is quite toxic of a movie.
Oh, damn.
Like the chick who needs a whole makeover just because she's obviously got issues. She obviously just needs a friend, and they're like, you know what I'm going to do for you? Just completely change your whole look and then ditch you. I'm
Literally,
oh fucking right.
out of all of them in the movie, Ali Sheedy's character was the one I thought was the hottest when I was like 8. Like, I was like, who that over there? And why she being
that
so
little dark girl
shy?
in the corner.
What's that little shadow doing over there?
Yeah, girls, one thing you should always know is boys love a mystery.
I love a mystery. Hello.
That's very
They
true.
love a mystery. It's crazy. They always want the
Very, very
dark,
true.
creepy one.
Yes.
The pretty one's nice. They'll take the pretty one, but
Raven over
Or
Starfire.
what's that shit over there that looks like it could stab me? Like, I want.
Oh,
Literally,
man.
like, I'm not even trying to stereotype. I'm sure there's some guys out there who do like the nicer look, but every single guy I've been with, which kind of makes sense when you think about who I am as a person.
I suppose.
Hold up. Every single guy I've known likes the dark, mysterious one.
Claire
I'll
like
just
had a
discard
moment.
everything I
Like,
said because I just realized why.
Yes.
I know. So
she had like a whole moment to herself.
I'm
just
legit
then.
raving over here, and I'm like, guys like the dark.
Which is so unlike Raven, because Raven will just be like, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
as cool as Raven, unfortunately.
No, we all know that, but neither is anyone else.
Damn.
I mean, no, Claire, I just don't take that personally. None of us are as cool as Raven.
Oh.
I used to have a friend named Mitchell.
Oh,
Used
damn,
to.
it's like that. All right,
It like
fine.
that. It like that. You just offended me.
Oh, come on, Claire. I was just being honest. None of us are as
Me,
cool
not
as she
fine.
is. None of us are as cool as she is. None of us can be.
no.
Robin wasn't as cool as she is, and he was like the emo fucking goth kid.
I hate
Yo,
Robin.
Robin and Raven should have got together.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Why
Yeah,
not?
don't do that.
Don't do
Why
that.
you getting up on Beast Boy's
Robin and
bit?
Starfire are perfectly fine
Beast
together. Don't
Boy
do that. They'll be fine.
Okay.
deserves
Cool.
more respect.
They'll be fine.
All right.
All right, like it's all good. Personally, I think she should have been with Aqualad, but that's just because I have a thing for like water heroes.
But
Yeah, it would have
Aqualad's
been a nice
gay.
balance. It would have been a better balance than her and Beast Boy, because Aqualad could have still been that like bright spot while
It's
navigating
not
and
about
understanding
balance,
her
it's about
depth.
passion.
And Beast Boys bringing the heat like that.
Have you guys seen those memes when Beast Boy's pulling up to Raven's like, "Hey, can we have normal sex tonight?" And she's like, "No, now turn into an octopus again." And that's the only reason I can see her being with Beast Boy over, because Aqualad could summon up an octopus, but
Yeah,
like
but that's
she wants
actual bestiality.
exactly.
She,
She wants the actual
bestiality.
exactly.
She wants that bestiality that's like not.
She's like, "Nah, I just want to
Wow,
feel
we're
without
wild
actually
today.
being shown."
So any hoozle.
Yeah, this is way off the rails. This is way gone.
So itchy.
Mitch, did you still want to talk about witch shit? Because we've killed the Halloween topic. It's bad.
It's
Oh
okay.
wait,
I wasn't
Mitch
gonna
was
stay on
actually
it
a
long.
witch on Halloween.
Yeah, I was just myself because I couldn't think of a costume. It was supposed to be Blade. It didn't. I still got Blade
Blade!
twice. but like I didn't have the teeth of the shades.
So
but,
me, Sarah, and Mitch went out for Halloween. We went to a club.
Context.
Right? Yes. And so Mitch was out on the street literally when we walked up to the club. And it took us forever to get there, but we got there. And so like I see Mitch there. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, hey, are you the Crow? Like from the movie?
That's literally what he said. And I was like, that could have probably also worked if I had had more makeup and some time. But no, it was just a witch. Some
and then
face
he said
painting.
he's just a witch. And
I had
then,
a pentacle on.
And then what that just made me think of was like, okay, he was dressed like that and he's just a witch. Is that like how he dresses up every time he's got to do like a ritual shit?
No. Although fair, very, very
like
fair.
Valid, right?
And I probably should. Anytime I want to get just like, just paint up and just like, okay, and I've come to the altar today. But no, I just needed some outward expression so people around me was like, oh, he's dressed up as something. Because I couldn't get a costume, I had to dress up as something. But anyway, moving on to Halloween. So the reason I bring it up, and since we're talking about witch shit, so Halloween originates from a Gaelic tradition called Samhain, which is spelled Samhain, but pronounced Samhain. I'm just glad both me and Claire were like, yo. But it's Samhain, which is Old Gaelic, which Gaelic is like the traditional, like original language for the Celts. So in like Scotland and Ireland and stuff like that. And Halloween passed, so I just wanted to bring it up. For me, it's like Witch's New Year, because during that time, it would get cold. People would light like these ritual fires and just let them burn out in their houses. And then during that time, you'd be wanting to like banish any evil spirits and basically like set up for the new year and stuff like that. Because it's part of what witches call Sabbats. And there's like spelled Sabbats, which has to have a connection to Jewish Shabbat.
Yeah, that's gotta have
where
something.
Where the fuck does Sabbath come from?
Sabbath is like another term. No. Sabbath is a term that exists, but that's just not traditionally what it's called. A bunch of racists, or maybe just insensitive. I don't know if they'd be racist.
This episode,
well, it's against the whole racist culture, though. Like when you think about it.
Well, wait.
Does
Claire,
racist only have to mean like putting down a person of color's race? Because at the same time, like it's a race.
Who?
No, so
the people, like the Celtic people.
Sabbath is actually a thing, but it's more like a Christian term, which I think originates from the term like Sabbat, and the Jews have Shabbat.
I thought
so
that's
it's
a
funny.
Hebrew term though. Sabbath.
Shabbat is a Hebrew term, but Sabbath
doesn't the Sabbath come from
Jewish
that?
People, yeah.
Shabbat.
So Shabbat for Jewish people usually is on Saturday or Friday, I believe.
Confused.
And then Sabbath comes from the
also,
Christians.
I still have questions about what
Catholic
is racism
Christians.
and what's not now.
I know that was very funny you said that. But Catholic Christians created Sabbath, and why there's a differentiation, I could look into, but not for right now because I'm talking about Samhain
to separate themselves from the Jews, basically.
Exactly, and stuff like that. But in any case, so during the time, to me, it's basically like the New Year because that marked like the end of the year, so basically starting the new one. And it was like cultural tradition, and it like bleeds down from like Celtic tradition to paganism around in the area to like neo-pagans and Wiccans, like bringing basically the spirit of the holiday back, because there's a melding due to Christianity wanting to meddle in everything during like don't we all during like the 5th century. Sorry Logan, my father's a Baptist. I'm sorry.
Maybe don't be Christian and you won't be offended.
Claire,
that's so fucked up. That's literally
as we both laugh, but I gotta be the one to be sensitive. You're like, Claire, don't say that out loud where the Christian can hear you.
Oh, please. I could say some really nasty shit right now, but I'm not gonna. So
Claire,
thank you.
Is just like on this road to become like the next edgy Australian. Like she's just like on that path for some reason.
As long as I'm not Carl Sandilands, I'm fine.
I don't know who Carl Sandilands is. And
you're a fucking twat. That's what he is.
He has a very fun name though.
Carl Sandilands.
Yeah, what the fuck is that name? Jesus Christ.
I think it's actually Sandiland.
That's 2 steps away from Sandy Cheeks. Your name's not real.
I know, right?
Your name's not real.
Your name's not real. But anyway, Christianity meddles in everything. And so out of Samhain, when they're trying to like get pagans to stop, doing their rituals and worship the way they like to, around like middle age time, they're trying to move around holidays. So you have All Saints Day, which was like November 1st. And at one point they tried to change the date to that date, but it didn't work because witches is going to be witchy and you're not going to stop us no matter how many times you try to burn us, bitches. Anyway, so moving on. So they moved the date back, but Christianity, the church was like, yo, okay, so it could be, what is it? What do you call it? All Hallows Day or
All Hallows
Eve.
Yeah,
Hallows Eve. Yes, All Hallows Eve.
I did not go to Catholic school to forget that. I don't know what's happening.
In the first place. So, and that's where from All Hallows Eve we eventually get Halloween. But as you see, there's still a lot of stuff that still kind of holds true. Like kids going to get candy traditionally. Hey, you give us candy or we fuck up your entire establishment, which is now just we play little tricks or treats on you. But one of my favorite things is for Samhain is that, it's the day where the veil between worlds is weakest. And it's the time for
Is that true?
Yes.
A little bit.
It's the time for, spirits and other beings to cross over and us to connect. Yeah, man, that's true in many traditions, not just like European and whatnot.
Yeah.
I just had a thought.
Yes.
I don't know if this is an appropriate time to talk about this because I just
We'll edit it out if it's not, but let's go.
Ever since I've started this goddamn podcast, I don't know if you guys have opened my mind, if you've been playing tricks on me or what's going on, but I have had so many experiences. The other night, I was lying in bed with Ben and the dog was barking and we're like, shut up, as you do. And then we heard a click, like a light switch. And I just looked at Ben and I was like, and he looked at me and then he got up and he went out there. And I'm like, I got up too because I'm like, I'm not staying in bed.
Smart girl.
And then I came out and he had the broom as a weapon. And I also grabbed a weapon. I'm not going to say what it was, but I also grabbed a weapon. And we're looking around and I was checking in cupboards and stuff. And there was nothing.
How long ago was that? How many days? Do you remember what night that happened?
It was before Halloween. It was 2 weeks ago.
Damn.
A little bit before Halloween. Okay. Yeah. It's about the time. It is the time when weird things happen, all over the world. The veil between the worlds is its thinnest.
Not happy.
Creepy shit happens.
That's why I get the...
And I swear to God, someone is in my house. Do I have someone living in my walls?
That could be a possibility too.
Also fear.
That is a fear of mine. That was a fear of mine. When I was living in the apartment, I was sometimes it felt like food was missing when it shouldn't have been. Things were moved around when they shouldn't have been, and it's just somebody's living here and coming in and coming out. And I don't know. And it was and I would hear noises and I'd run downstairs and I'd be like nobody would be there. I would get so mad that I'd scream. I'd be like, I'm going to find you one day. It's going to happen. So you better
be scared.
Bro, random shit happens. And one thing I wanted to mention just on the subject is just because I'm a person who obviously believes in magic being who I am. Not trying to have the debate, but it's just Halloween was known for that time and weird shit happens to us all the time. But keep in mind that magic is basically a force in the universe that involves us as individuals and how we influence the energy around us. And as we scientifically know, energy is everywhere. We are energy. We're vibrating energy right now. The microphones, everything around us is technically energy vibrating at different states. And people no longer believe they can have an effect on the world around them, which is all that magic really is. Aleister Crowley's definition, and Aleister Crowley, well, he was a Thelemite and whatnot, so you can take that with a grain of salt. It's not the hard definition, but it was just our will and the effect that we can use our will for the effects that we want to see in the world, how our will affects the energy around us, basically. And, believing in stuff like that is kind of just a step in that direction because all it really is belief. And so we have a world now that's really dry and cold and doesn't really, because, we have science, not that there's anything wrong with science. I think it's a useful tool, but it's people have really lost belief in themselves, which is all that magic is in the first place. Believing in yourself and what you're capable of doing. You know what I mean? And
but I'm not going to argue with you.
That's fair. I don't really want to have an argument right now.
I was like, I'm not going to argue
I'm
with you.
struggling with the fact that I'm having paranormal experiences right
I know, that's what I was just going to say.
Whoa.
There's like shit is moving around in my
She's like,
house.
Mitch, I can't do this.
I don't know
what's
what's
all
happening.
your fault.
Because ever since I started talking to you.
You're either giving me delusions or...
Not giving you delusions.
You've either opened my mind or given me delusions, and I'm not happy about either of that. I'm not okay
Claire.
with either.
Well, Claire, I'm here to tell you there is another path.
Oh, God. Claire, run. We're both running. We're both getting the fuck out of here right now.
Hell,
We're both just running.
No, Dolores. Get the fuck out of here
Dolores.
and take your Bible with you.
She said
Okay,
Dolores.
Claire.
No, not Dolores.
Swear to God. You know what I hate the most about those fuckers? God loves you. God will always love you and forgive you for this.
I wasn't going to say that. But I was going to be like,
God's not real, bitch.
Oh,
Like,
God. Oh, God, Claire.
I was going to
didn't
say.
like that. Like Logan didn't like that. Logan's like internal being was like, that's wrong.
I could have some conversations on it, but we won't do that right now.
I was going to say, okay, Claire, have it your way.
Like an upset mother.
But Claire,
My
so
God
there
your
is.
father.
So to be serious with you though, for a quick moment, because I do have that effect on people sometimes. So I didn't
What?
mean for any of this to happen to
Putting
you.
demons in their house and shit?
No, I don't put demons in anybody's house. All
Then
I
what
do
you
is
mean?
spread positive
Your
energy.
own.
But nonetheless, you may be opening yourself. You may. I'm gonna ignore that because like I'm trying to help a friend out. And she's not necessarily wrong about my own demons that I'm
No,
currently
because
dealing
you put your bed on the doorknob.
Logan, I'm not having that conversation with you right now either. But the point is, Claire, try to pay attention, keep an open mind, but know that nothing's per se going to harm you. I know you be in negative spaces sometimes, but try to keep your energy positive. But if some weird shit happens, burn some sage. Burn some fucking sage.
You know
Burn
what
some
happened
sage.
when I started burning sage around my
Just
house?
go to
Everyone
the
have
local
a shit fit.
Find
He's
some sage and
asthmatic.
just burn it. It's not a strong smell. It's not a strong smell. It's not
I'm
like...
gonna get shitty at me for burning a bloody candle.
Just go to the local
really?
like smoke shop. They'll have sage.
Burn some sage, you know what I'm saying? Burn some sage in the house. Tell everything to get the fuck out, however you feel, if that's how you feel. I didn't mean for this to happen, but sometimes you're not the first person to tell me that. So just keep in mind, you're okay. Everything is fine. Anything is bad, burn some
my lights
sage.
and then turning my lights off. Like I was
Burn some sage and just banish everything out.
What was that? What were they doing? Why were they just like
Just be gone.
disco?
But that's what I did. That's what I did ritually.
doing?
Disco. That's funny.
What are they doing?
Why do you get? Maybe you got an old spirit who's just like, I just want to dance. Y'all motherfuckers never dance. Ghost just chilling there, like I just want to dance. Be banished out the house.
I
But if it
recently
gets bad,
saw
burn some
this.
sage.
I recently saw this post where somebody was like upset on Twitter and they posted it on Facebook or whatever, and they was like, I really get upset about you guys. Like, you try to be like, this is another witch talking, by the way. And like,
sweet.
he's talking about like, he gets upset about like all the cutesy people with all their cutesy witch shit, with all their like cutesy witch potions and stuff, and like wishing harm on people and doing all types of spells and not really knowing the end of spells and stuff. And like, he said, because what you guys are doing is like, you just open so many portals and you're opening so many avenues for like evil spirits to like come in, and you don't care because you don't like actually respect the craft. And then I was just like, yeah. Like,
No, that's actually fair. That's actually fair. Like me personally, I don't even get into spell work like that myself personally. Like I keep my altar and I like focus on the energy within myself, but I legit try not to ever do anything like that that would affect someone outside of myself, because I feel it's just not right. Now, that being said, I'm aligned a certain way now, and like that has an effect on my external. But personally, I try to keep everything focused internally on myself. I have a very like solitary, like independent practice for me. I don't try to cast spells for people. I don't try to cast spells or anything on people. I would never wish any negative energy on anyone in the first place. I'm all about blessings, you know what I mean? Because he has a valid point. You sit here, people like to dabble, they like to play in the craft and think it's all a game. And then all of a sudden, some weird shit happens to someone else that either you don't know, some weird shit happens to someone else you do know, some weird shit happens at random. You're like, wow, I can't believe that happened. And it's because you did some shit.
Yep.
We are all energy. This planet around us is energy. The moon, these planets, these stars, this universe, all energy. We have an effect on it.
I agree.
And you need to be cognizant of that.
I agree literally like with everything Mitch is saying. It's just I'm on like y'all will say I'm on my Christian bullshit, but like if you believe in spirits in the spiritual world, at some point it's hard for me to wrap my head around people who believe in like a spiritual realm of any sort and then like poo-poo anybody else's version of a spiritual realm.
What I like to call that, Logan, is people
like,
believe in
everybody, like.
which is fair. Which is actually, which is fair because otherwise you'd be a hypocrite. Which is fair. Yeah. But some people like to believe in what they believe in, and they're like, nah, this sort of magic can exist, but nothing else. And it's like, oh,
I think that's dangerous too.
That is very dangerous.
I think that's dangerous. Yeah,
that is very dangerous. Truth be told, because then you're opening yourself to her.
Yeah.
Who?
So, Logan.
Sure.
So. You believe in God, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, not to be dismissive, but like, I'm just trying to get to the point. Like, I'm just trying to get to the point.
It's because you're in the habit of doing that, and that's why that happened. Go on.
But you believe in God. Mm-hmm. But you also believe that, like, people of, like, the Muslim faith are allowed to wear their business. I can't remember what it's called, and I don't want to be disrespectful.
Hijabs and stuff?
The hijab?
Man.
Yeah,
why
not?
Their burqas or whatever else it's called.
Yeah.
Do you believe that they have the same God as you? They just have different ideas on what he is and what he wanted for them?
Like Islam?
Like, do you think there's like one God, or do you think there's like various, like lots of different gods, and they are like brothers or whatever? Sort of like.
Can I answer that after?
I originally thought that like God in Islam and God in the Christian sense was the same God. I've heard debates where like people say it's not the same God. I feel like it's probably the same God interpreted two different ways, to be honest. Because these are all Abrahamic religions. So like they come from that
Abrahamic
source.
faith.
So it's like Judaism, Christianity.
What is not an Abrahamic religion?
Oh, God.
I tried to go for a not Abrahamic religion by going for the Muslim religion, but I don't know.
I suppose anything that isn't Christianity, Islam, or Judaism would not be an Abrahamic.
So Hindu, Norse.
No, Hindu predates Christianity, mind you, but both Hinduism and I believe Buddhism. But Abrahamic faith, when we talk Abrahamic faith, we're talking Islam, Christianity, and Judaism because their patriarchal figures are Abraham, the father of us all.
What I would say for
traditionally in their traditions.
Okay, this is religion for learners. We need to rewind.
Okay, sorry, that was a little much.
What I would say for other religions outside of those is that I would not deny them having a spiritual experience with those entities or whatever. Like I wouldn't say that didn't happen or it doesn't come from something or somewhere is what I would say.
Why do you think, not like an answer that you've read or what is your opinion, like just straight up opinion as to why they did have different messages, if it is the same God, why they had such different messages? Do you think it could be to do with the fact that like they have to wear the burqas because back in the day it was really hot where they were? I know this is just me pulling at straws and I don't mean to be racist or anything by this, but I'm just trying to like give a generalization on what an assumption could be.
Well, when you talking
it was really hot, so God was like, wear these to keep you protected or something like that.
I wish that was the reason.
To be honest, I feel like
I don't know. I'm trying to
No, I'm not even making fun of you. I legitimately wish that was the reason because unfortunately the reason's a lot different. And in some perspectives, some may say better, but for me, due to the effect it has on women, I'm like, nah, I don't like
Well, I have a problem with that, and that's why I wanted to question.
Well, continue, Logan. You can answer. I'll talk later.
For me, when it comes to like headwear like the hijab or burqas or any type of traditional religious headwear, and really yarmulke. to be honest, a yarmulke.
Yeah,
that's what I was just about to bring up though.
The turban wraps.
We have too much of a focus on Islam when it comes to religious dress because it's never from
sorry, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry.
Well, at least she said sorry. It was good. It's never from a good place. Like it's never from a good place from like it's always from a critical place about the culture and everything like that, where it's like you have a religion, and if you believe that that's part of your religion, you don't really see a problem with it. Just like Christians, really Catholics, but in other branches of Christianity, there are nuns, and they have religious dress too, just like the priests have religious dress too. You know what I'm saying? And so like they have these things, and the fact that we spend so much time talking about hijabs and burqas and things like that, but we don't talk about, you know, the headdress of a nun. We don't talk about things like that. I feel like it's really indicative of how we feel about people. And like, really those things, I think Claire was trying to ask me from like a spiritual sense, where do I think those things come from? I don't necessarily know if they do come from a spiritual sense as much as they come from like a cultural sense, like a cultural part of that. Now, like there are cultural things within religious text that don't necessarily have to do with spirituality, but they have to do with how God interacts with humans and how God allows humans to interact with each other, not because he wants to condemn them, but basically because of the fact that humans can't get along unless you set up some type of weird rule for them, because we're just weird like that. What were you going to say, Mitch?
No, because to answer Claire's question more simply, at least in terms, I mean, because you could do that with literally any religion or spiritual practice, but to simply answer the question, why is there so much differentiation? Well, how different are the peoples of the world?
A lot different, aren't they? Yeah. And now sometimes we get into certain spaces, lands, countries, where we have similar viewpoints and we share those, but then you could go a few miles further south or whatever, and all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of people there who also have different viewpoints on the world. And so if people were having these spiritual experiences and experiencing something as like powerful as, you know, God, a higher power, they're probably going to experience it in a different way from their perspective, wherever they are, whoever they are. Right. And that is why you have so many varying religions of the world. With the Abrahamic faiths, they have that connection, which we all notice, which we got smart enough to notice, because they tend to come from the same region. You know, Christianity derives from Judaism regardless, and Islam is like further in that region, further away. And so they just had a different experience, and different rule sets, you know, came about due to that. You know what I mean? What's the exact reason? No one truly knows. No one knows the perfect history. We wish we did. If we had that answer, we might be solving a lot more issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get you. I got distracted because halfway through that, I was reminded of the fact that my cat Tilda talks to demons at night. And I always used to joke that she talks to demons at night, but now I was just like, my brain was just like, anywho, but back to what we were actually talking about. But that's why I was like, let me try and think of what I was going to say. I
like how that's an aside. Like that's just something that she just decided to bring up. And then, anyway. Well,
I wanted to finish this conversation first and just say that, like, okay, well, that's interesting. Because I've always just thought, when it comes to religion, if religion, I don't need to disclaim myself, you know who I am. If religion is real and God is real, blah, 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 blah. Again, not trying to be disrespectful, I just do that. I feel like man has really, like, you know how you have like Chinese whispers and stuff where you have like one starting thing, you got this thing, and then you give it to this man, and then you give it to this man, and you give it to this man, and then by the end of it, it's total convoluted bullshit.
Oh, like telephone, yeah.
Yeah.
We could talk about that too, Claire. I would love to talk about
Australian
that.
racism there, but you know.
Yeah, because I was like, Chinese whispers, that don't sound good.
That's what that was called when I was a kid, and I only just thought about it. Yeah.
Claire, keep in mind that's a very real thing, because there's a difference between like true spiritual practice and what people actually get to know.
And
not everybody can read.
I always get told. Like I always get told that, like, you know, every time I have a bad experience with a Christian person, Logan's like, but we're not all like that, blah, blah, blah. It's not this person, blah, blah, blah. Not all Christians.
So I say, yo, stop making me sound like that.
I don't be like hashtag not all Christians. Like,
I don't know, man, because you are the only Christian I know that I can fucking stand. So
Australia, I gotta do better. I know what's going on, but I gotta do better.
What are you talking about?
Australian Christians, not Australia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
To say a few more words on Samhain anyway.
Okay.
No, just a little bit, because I forgot to mention, like, you know, what it actually means, because I was so caught up in like its history. But basically, and this is why we get into winter, because now that's the Earth's energy retreating back into its core, feeling like, you know, the bulbs of seeds and stuff like that. And it's like the energy coming back. Saying. Yeah, the energy coming back into the Earth to get ready to like resurge for spring and stuff like that. That's why it gets cold and stuff of that nature. Right. There's a story of it between like the goddess and the god, but that's a little bit more than we need. But for the basis, it's energy retreating back into the Earth to, you know, recollect and, you know, get ready to resurge for the beginning of spring. And it's kind of like the cycles. So Samhain is the beginning of energy retreating back into the Earth. And then we go into Yule, which is winter, which is when things are getting ready to resurge. And then we get into like spring, and that's when the energy comes back, and summer and all that. And it's just a part of the seasonal cycle. You got to go along with the cycle. You don't fight the cycles. You know what I'm saying?
All right. That was your daily dose of witch shit on the podcast.
Let's be.
Speaking of energy, let's get to this one. I wanted to talk about how you prioritize, like, basically what you want out of life, and how do you like do that? Because what I was trying to do earlier last week was I was trying to make a schedule for myself, and that is hard as shit because
oh boy,
because when you try to make like a schedule for yourself, it's like, how do you end up writing things you need to do down, but then you kind of glaze over what you want to do. And then you kind of glaze over what would be things that are just good for your mental health. You know what I mean? And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. If it's not a big deal, then we won't say too much about it. But I just wanted to talk about it because to me, it feels like that just feels like such a big deal that like we go day to day and we expect to work, we expect to do all these different type of things, menial things in our life, and we don't like try to like prioritize ourselves in our own schedule. And then why is it like so hard to do that?
Well, funny that you bring this up, because I legitimately had kind of like an in-depth conversation on that with my cousin who just started this new program. Because he started, I forgot what it's called, but it's basically for, you know, people who've been through, you know, like the prison system, and they only work with those individuals and they work them through industries like media and stuff. But he's like, I was talking to a dude, and dude was talking about, you know, scheduling and stuff. And it feels like you don't have the time, but it's like you have the time, but you got to learn to make the schedule to prioritize what's important with your time. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you're like, it's hard. It's like, it's not hard. It's just, it's not a state we're used to living in because we're used to being on somebody else's clock. I mean, you start school, make sure you get to school on time. You got to go through these classes, these schedules. You get out of school, maybe you got to get a job. Maybe you got to go to college. Once again, you're still back on somebody else's schedule, even though you got a little bit more control. When do you create a schedule for you? What do you prioritize for you?
Right.
And we think about it as our personal life. It's like, all right, I don't want to do that because it's my personal life and I want it to be more natural. At least that's how I am with it. It's like, oh God, I don't want to do it. It feels too businessy. I hate business. I hate money. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. But nonetheless, it's like, well, what's important to me in my personal life? I mean, we could use you and Claire as an example in terms of relationships because you have significant others. It's like, how do you prioritize? Yeah, I know, but I wasn't trying to say her name and shit. Man.
But why'd you say me and Claire?
Because I wasn't talking about you guys being together. I was talking about your significant others. I was using you both as an example.
Okay. Because it sounded weird the way you said it.
Why was it so weird? You're not digging
because
Claire?
Me and Claire aren't dating. That's why.
All right, yeah. Like, okay. All right, so maybe in my mind you could be. This is uncomfy. Yeah, right, but anyway, I wasn't talking about that.
Fantasy.
I wasn't talking about that in the first place. You're not in my fantasies.
You fantasizing about the Toasties?
All right, don't. Neither of you are in my fantasies. Let's not get weird.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, you better watch yourself. Anyway. But you guys have significant others, and it's like, how would you prioritize your time? They're the most important thing to you. And sometimes Oh, Claire, don't take it that way. I'm playing. But like, so maybe you need to prioritize time with them, but you don't, because it feels like, oh, that's my personal time. I shouldn't have to do that. But maybe you guys could be having better times together if you did. And then you have to do that with other areas of your life. What do you want to do with your life?
Right.
And why haven't you made that a priority for you to schedule?
Right.
So I want to maybe read a book. Oh, that's not that serious? Okay. But if it was that serious, why wouldn't you scout out that time and put that down? Mm-hmm. Maybe you're like, I want to find new work. Oh, but I'm just going to look when I get a chance. Really? Don't you think that's important? Why wouldn't you make sure you make the time to go look for that? Maybe you want to do something as simple as cleaning your room, but you want to make sure you do it. When you want to make sure you do something, you have to make it a priority. Otherwise, it doesn't get done.
Right.
And even in from the simplest to the most advanced levels, like, it depends on what your priorities are, yes. But if you want it to matter and you want to get it done, no matter what it is, you have to make it a priority. And if it's a priority, you're going to make time for it. You're probably going to plan ahead for it just to make sure you get it done. Why don't we do that, though?
I think that's super important, that like we should be able to write down like even if it's nothing, like even if it's like you got to make time to play video games or something, like you should actually fit that into your schedule. Like if you're the type of person, like you fit into your schedule, like your work, your meetings and all this and that, like put into your schedule that you need some time to yourself. Whether it's like you said, reading a book or like playing video games or like cooking, if cooking makes you feel good, doesn't make me feel the best, but like if that's like a thing, that's something that enriches your life, makes you happy. I think we like hear that something makes us happy and then we automatically assume that it's wasteful, Like we assume that because it's not, I don't know, putting food on the table or money in the pocket, then that means that it's not worthy for some reason. And I think that's just so misguided, because if we rewind a little bit, what was putting the money in the pocket and the food on the table was you going to work, right? And you can't do that if you're not there. And you can't not be there if you're not together and you're not taking care of yourself, and part of taking care of yourself is like being enriched in other ways that don't necessarily mean just sitting at the office. And like that was something we talked about like a couple of shows ago. We were talking about Claire brought that up, where you brought up about how like we need culture, we need art, and the reasons why, like if we just like completely devoid and like deprived of these things, then we don't have it, It
kind of makes us a little dead inside.
Yeah.
The most basic level, like you kind of die inside a little bit without arts and stuff like that. It's just an intrinsic part of us.
It's kind of sick the way we do it too, because it's like the only people that are supposed to like enjoy things are people who are like ultra rich and shit. So it's like if we see somebody like on welfare and they buy like a lobster or a steak with their welfare card or whatever, people get tight about that shit. I'm like, can you never have steak if you poor? Like, is that like
damn?
Like damn? Like how many do they buy? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
where that stems from? I don't even know how. It's funny, but it's like we're so past nobility and like kings and queens and shit, and there being this level of classism, yet it just bleeds historically all the way down. And now you're in America where there is no such thing as a queen, king, or queen, or any sort of monarchy at all. But you're still a fucking peasant pauper who doesn't get to have anything you like because you're supposed to be working to make sure this billionaire has it rich. You know what I mean?
People like get on people with the welfare thing too, because they're like, okay, this person, they bought a steak and that's obviously wasteful. They said that it was poor and they needed help. Like it's like food costs a lot, first off. But then like people get mad and call it like a welfare scam if like somebody buys like 7 lobsters with their EBT card and then like goes and sells them, for like a
that's a goddamn
price.
Hustle.
Thank you. That's what
I'm a hustler.
If I knew somebody was doing that with like my tax dollars, I'm like,
good
damn,
on you. You really work the system like that, player?
Because if this person qualifies and they don't have anything and they're trying to get out, like they're not even eating the food. You know what I mean?
Facts.
And so they decided that not only are they going to sacrifice the assistance that they're getting, they're going to make it into money so that they can further get out of the position that they want, which is what you said that they should have been doing anyways.
Right. You want them to sell crack instead?
Yeah.
So you can put them in prison? I mean, you got to pick one. Pick one, because they could do both probably. But
what is it? The lobsters or the crack? What you want? Pick one.
I would choose. Selling lobster sounds a lot more, safe to me. Maybe healthy.
Yeah.
Little Tyrone down the block gets to have lobster for the first time in his life. I don't even like lobster, but that's not the point. Point is he gets to have it and decide whether he likes it.
I'll buy some even
I've
taste
never
steaks.
tried lobster.
You've never tried lobster?
It's okay, but I don't feel the same way about certain foods. Like, people hype things up. I honestly think, I'm not going to get into that subject, but lobster, it's all right. Not worth the hype. Shellfish are just underwater bugs. I'm glad people enjoy them, but I'm good.
They look like
shrimp.
bugs. Yeah.
No, Logan, shellfish literally are arthropods.
Bugs?
They are underwater bugs. They're just bugs in water.
That's gross. I don't like that.
That's life.
Crabs. What about crabs?
Crabs are also
It's
arthropods.
not a bug and big.
Some bugs are big, Claire, but crabs are still arthropods. They're all in the arthropod family.
Oh.
Like scorpions.
Yeah, scorpions, literally the greatest ancestors from life were underwater like scorpions and stuff. It wasn't just fish down there. There was underwater like crustaceans and, different sorts of arthropods evolving along ecosystems and stuff like that.
They were always just crustaceans. They weren't bugs.
No, they're still bugs. They're arthropods.
No, they're crustaceans.
No,
She doesn't want to
Claire.
think that she's eating bugs when she's eating shrimp. Leave her alone.
All right,
shrimp.
Claire.
I like
That's
shrimp.
Lots of people like shrimp. Shrimps are just
Have you guys had
Bugs.
barbecued shrimp?
What?
shrimp on the bobby. I'm sorry, was that offensive? Because I just couldn't help it. Because you said barbecued shrimp, and I was like, oh,
It's good.
opportunity.
You put it with lemon and what's the other thing? Some other type of seasoning.
Old Bay?
Maybe some cayenne pepper.
Maybe.
Tartar sauce?
I started eating spices again because Henry's fixed.
Henry's fixed.
Yeah.
If you guys
Good
don't
times.
remember, Henry was Claire's ulcer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guest on the show.
And I got it from eating the wrong medication for my stomach because I'm a sensitive little bean and spicy food, like the combination. And
Because Claire likes her spices.
I
Unlike
normally
you.
can eat spicy food. I've been eating spicy food my whole life,
No,
whole
I
life.
respect it, Claire. At least you like spices.
But
Because white American people, stem from European white people who literally
I
made
That's
know.
a
a
real
career.
thing, though. That's
out
a
of
real
fucking
thing.
getting
Like
spices and
like
just
a
not
lot of
using
white
them.
people just can't take pepper.
No, that does
That's a
happen.
Yeah.
thing.
Which is
the
funny.
only reason I couldn't take it was because of the medication it was on. It was just mixing with this medication and then fizzling and causing an ulcer.
I love spicy food.
Me too.
Don't love it, but I like a good spice. I like a good spice, as long as it tastes good. If it
Are you
burns, I don't
referring
see
to
the
like
point.
garlic as a spice, or are you referring to like?
No, Logan's talking about spicy
Pepper
food, and
rolls.
I'm talking about
He means
both,
like curry and
spices and spicy food.
Oh yeah,
Curry's
not
delicious.
bad.
Curry's good too.
I like Thai food more than Indian food for spicy.
Okay.
I like both. I've been to a Thai place and an Indian place, and I was like, "This slaps." I like
This
this.
slaps.
Yeah,
Both foods slap. Spiced or not, like
these people know what they're doing.
hot
you guys have
spicy or just
Nando's?
tasty spicy?
Huh?
Nando's?
Does America have Nando's?
I
What's
think
Nando's?
So. I've
Nando's
heard of
is
it,
like
but I don't-
Spanish, hot chicken and chips and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
there's
like
plenty of
really
Spanish
nice
food
salads and stuff. And it's got
Ooh.
it's peri peri sauces.
Okay, you guys got to stop this. You guys are making me hungry. I wanted to talk about the Dave Chappelle thing again because not even the Dave Chappelle thing again. Dave Chappelle
His
decided to
response.
have a response to the Netflix walkout.
I don't know
Which-
if it was a response. I think he just had a special and brought it up, right? That's kind of what happened?
No.
Really? I didn't see the entire... Because I saw the clip, but I could have sworn there was an entire special to that, or no?
If you watched the clip, you said, "Yeah, I watched this." And
No,
now
Logan,
you're saying,
I
didn't
watched
even
the
watch
clip,
the whole
but
thing.
it looked like it was the end of an entire like stand-up special or something. It didn't look like it was an entire
Dave does
thing.
this. Dave will have like his little town hall rallies and shit, and they're not like real comedy specials, but he's like on tour, I guess, and so he does like little types of like, because Dave doesn't do comedy anymore. He does like weird TED Talks, like Claire said that one time.
Yeah.
And so basically what happened was, not long after the special came out that we had talked about before, there was a Netflix walkout where trans employees and like LGBT employees that worked at Netflix left the offices of Netflix to like basically yell about how
make a
wrong
statement.
this was.
Yeah.
Make a
They're making
statement
a
about
statement.
like how offensive it is that they keep the Dave Chappelle thing on and things like that. And that came with its own set of problems because people brought up old tweets of the main people who were holding the rally. They brought up old tweets from them that were like either racist or misogynistic or anything like that.
No, seriously?
Yes.
This is hilarious. This is poetic in itself. Oh my God.
This is why I wanted to talk about
I didn't know that.
This is why I wanted to talk about it. And Claire
Wow.
does not want me to talk about it, but this is part of why I wanted to talk about it.
She gets to have the time she wants.
I know. She just glared at me like the bride at Chucky.
She said, "Don't you bring me into this,
bitch."
She said, I will come through that screen and drag you all the way over here.
Claire didn't want us to talk about it, and I want to give Claire the chance to say why she didn't want to talk about it, because she said, give me the chance to at least say why I don't want to talk about it. You don't have to engage me, and then we'll move on. But go ahead, Claire. Say why you don't want us to talk about the Dave Chappelle thing, because I think that perspective that Claire has is important too about it.
Fair. It's really fair.
I just think it's disrespectful. I think that we should be talking more about, the issues that are going on with trans people and that what they are facing, instead of giving any light or attention to the person who's dragging them down and spreading hate about them. I think that, I tried using the fire analogy when I was talking to Logan about it before the podcast, and it got a little bit convoluted. But my point was, if we give him attention and we allow him to go on these talk shows and we allow him to give all this information, he's not really cancelled. He's not getting cancelled. He's not going anywhere, and he's being justified in his pursuits. And see, Mitchell said that, he'd never be cancelled, and then there was something else about how people don't actually get cancelled. And here's the thing with that is, sure, people don't actually get cancelled, but people stop talking to them. People, they lose revenue, they lose opportunities, they do fizzle out to the point where they just leave, because what's the point? So yeah, we don't have the power to completely take away someone's career in a second, but we do have the power to not give them any energy and they not have any chances to have a resurgence in their negativity. So I'm not giving any light to this guy or any energy to this guy, because I just 110% disagree with the way he's taken this. I 110% disagree with how he's decided to go about this. I think it's disgusting and selfish. How instead of listening to what these people are saying, he's just gotten defensive and cracked a hissy fit. And it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I'm not giving him, I would any child who was acting this way. I'm not giving him any time of day, and I'm not giving him any attention. And I'd rather give that attention to those people who need my support, like the people who, lost their jobs from walking out, or the people who feel unheard or disrespected in the trans LGBTQ plus community.
I hope they didn't lose their jobs. I didn't think it was
They did. They did lose their jobs.
Okay. Yeah. Shit. That sucks. Damn.
So that's all I have to say on the matter. I'd rather give all my energy and my light and my time to the people who deserve it, rather than this fuckwit.
Claire out. Okay.
I like what Claire said. Okay. No, I'm serious. No, I actually agree 100% with where Claire is coming from. I agree with the sentiment behind it, and I basically like what she said about Dave Chappelle and everything that she had to say about him just now. The reason why, when we said that we were going to, I said I wanted to talk about this on the show, and I got just about the same response just now, but Claire actually gave y'all the best version of it.
She gave a way better response. Yeah.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. Quite well too. But the reason why I felt like it was important to bring this up again is because I hear what Claire's saying, that, you know, you can't really cancel a person if you don't stop talking about them, right? Which she's 100% right and true. But there's been this thing lately where people aren't just taking cancel culture and like complaining about it, like complaining about being canceled or not being canceled. It's becoming like an industry now. Like cancel culture itself is becoming like an industry, not from people, well, a bit from people who are saying like, we want to cancel this and we want to cancel that, but more from the people who really benefit from cancel culture more than anything are people like Dave Chappelle. Like, and the reason I say that is because Dave Chappelle came out recently, had a response to the Netflix Walkout and everything that's going on in his life after, you know, he just had this special. And the title of it basically is Dave Chappelle, Am I Canceled? You know what I mean? Like the title of it is Am I Canceled? Right? And in it, he goes about, you know, talking about, you know, he's not against the LGBT community. He's not against trans people and all this and that like it's the media that's framing it that way. But then also at the end of the thing, he talks about like if he wants to, if trans people do want to come and talk to him, that he has terms for them and blah 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 blah. So it's like on one end, he's trying to act like he's not doing anything homophobic and he's not doing anything transphobic, but at the same like breath, he's still being transphobic and homophobic and horrible and all this and that.
I don't know if I would say for that instance specifically, because all he really said was, so, and mind you, I just saw the thing. Go ahead. So it's like, all right, so if you guys want to, because apparently there was some, and we don't actually know what's happening behind the scenes or what the corporate interests are. So I'm going to bite my tongue just like I did how we was talking earlier about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and all that shit. But nonetheless, it seems to me like there's some hearsay about him denying willing to have chats with people. But it looks to me like he's having more of the thing where it's like, I'm Dave Chappelle, and if y'all want to talk to me, and it sounds like a safety thing at this point as well. It has to be on my terms, because where is he going to go? He's going to go into, it feels to me like he feels unsafe in this moment. Like in this moment with an audience that is from obviously, I guess, you know, the trans community, which he feels he's offended. So that's it's not stupid. Like, it's
not saying that you're stupid, but I'm saying that's stupid.
I know. But no, I don't think so, because either way, you have to acknowledge the fact that like, oh, if you guys are in a space where there's animosity towards me, we have to meet in some neutral place. I'm not just going to go to where you want me to go. Is what I kind of felt that he was saying. Now, if there's truth to that, I don't actually know. But it sounds to me like in his own way, which right now we know where Dave Chappelle is at in his space. Like I'm dealing with, you know, these trans specials I've been having. I'm trying to navigate, you know, dealing or talking to this community or doing comedy with this community involved. And so, but this happened. So now it's like, and then you have the Netflix Walkout and it's like, oh shit. Like, how do I really even go talk to those people? Those people don't actually want to even talk to me. You know what I mean? So it's like figuring out the setup. If you really want to talk to me, he's like, listen, here's where I'll be. This is where I'll feel safest. Let's have this conversation. That I can say is fair, but it does seem to me like there does seem to be some like corporate interest involved, like he said, because I do want to see this film that he was mentioning in the thing to really talk about, because like I said before with this special, I know that there was some problem spots, but otherwise I kind of get where he was coming from on a lot of things that was said. I can't ignore some of the problem spots that were said, and I said that last time where I understand a certain level of resentment that comes up that we have to talk about and navigate, because otherwise we're not talking at all. So that's kind of how I feel on it. Now, whether he's right or wrong with his approach, like I personally don't think he's going about it per se the right way. But right now there's just a lot of emotion going wrong going around. No one's really level-headed. I wouldn't put myself in a position to just go out to where someone says, I mean, let's imagine that I pissed off a whole bunch of Hispanic people on some level, and we needed to talk. We needed to actually talk. I'm not just going to go out to a place of their choosing because they wanted me to. I wouldn't feel necessarily safe doing that. I'd want to find some type of neutral area where we can actually have a discussion rather than emotions taking control and something maybe harmful happening.
I get that. And I do agree with you to the extent that, you know, okay, people do crazy shit.
People
right?
do crazy shit.
I do get that. What?
Not taking the blame off Dave Chappelle for inciting this, by the way. Before you continue, I'm not doing that.
No, I didn't think I was going to say that, but like that was part of my point, which is that like he did cause all this. You know what I mean?
There's no denying that. Like, I mean, he knew he's a comedian. He knew what he was doing.
He did know what he was doing. He made it this way, and like part of the special is is this new anti-cancel culture bullshit where it's like, I shouldn't be canceled no matter what I say about you, no matter what time. And what I was saying to Claire earlier when I brought this topic up is that because she was saying, you know, we don't need to talk about it because like he could just go away if we stop talking about it, and he's not that important and all this and that. And she said that she had also not seen, you know, a whole bunch of this stuff coming out on the media or whatever, where maybe that was like an Australian thing or an American thing, where I had definitely seen a bunch of stuff about Dave Chappelle. Maybe that's just because of how my algorithm works, because we've been doing the show and I've been in like that world. Like
you do kind of do that because I haven't seen anything, but I'm glad you brought something up.
That could be so. But what I've also seen is that like from the videos that I have seen, most of them come from people who are defending Dave Chappelle. So when I look at that, I look at this person, right? A person like Dave Chappelle, who I disagree and I feel is actually an actual powerful person in Hollywood and influential enough where like he is more than transcended whatever previous position he may have held in the past.
I can say influential, Logan. I 100% agree. I don't know if I could say as powerful due to what's happened to him. Influential, 100%. I can't say he's got power like that, though.
Because influence is power, especially in this day and time.
I know, you know, but I specifically say that because it's like there is still a difference, and it's like what he says has influence. Yes, does Dave Chappelle have the power to actually like make moves in Hollywood like that? No, because that was the point of not accepting the money from Comedy Central in the first place. You know, his entire career is technically taking a nosedive. I don't mean so.
That's not true. That's not true.
Well, it's just coming back, bro. Dave Chappelle is not anywhere near on level of where he should be due to what happened to him.
That's not true either. He got more than what he left with. Dave Chappelle walked away from 50 million. Netflix gave him 60.
I did not know that.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, he is extremely influential and extremely powerful and extremely wealthy. Like, not only that, like when he came back, like he just had like one of those sit downs where earlier this year, Netflix and HBO Max, they released Chappelle's show. And then he literally sat in front of a crowd and he released this on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, this video, but he sat in front of a crowd and said, listen, I wasn't getting paid the way I should have been for Chappelle's show back in the day, because when you're young and you're trying to get on, you sign a contract and then they own you, right?
Which is true. That is true, but that's not what we're talking about now.
Wait,
but okay,
hold on. Mm-hmm. Wait, because I'm trying to lay out the case of why I think this person is as powerful as like I think they are. Okay. He says, he goes in front of a crowd. He says, listen, I wasn't getting paid by Netflix. I wasn't getting paid by HBO Max. And, you know, these people decided that they were just going to release my show again. Now, Dave Chappelle signed contracts and everything, right? He obviously released his rights in a lawful manner. Whether we want to like think of that in that way at all, like he did that, right? He knows why he's not getting paid by Comedy Central anymore. He knows why he's not getting paid by these people anymore. However, I get the fact that it stings. It stings because you are creative and you created something and you're not even getting compensated for something that you basically were pushed out of, right? Mm-hmm. So his point being that, like, you know, I'm not asking anybody to cancel like HBO Max or Netflix. This is a couple months ago, but like saying I'm not asking anybody to cancel these people. I'm asking you to cancel me. Just don't watch it. Right now, when he said that and he released that to the public and people watched that en masse to a point where both HBO Max and Netflix took the Chappelle show off until they made a deal with him to put it back on where they would compensate him for some shit that he doesn't even have the rights to. That's power. That's fair. That's nothing. So somebody with that much influence in Hollywood where they can say, listen, this is a person that can literally tell his fans, don't do something, do it. And they will listen to him. This isn't like we're talking about Pauly Shore or some shit. Like this is an actual person that like came back into Hollywood and now is doing everything on his terms and doing everything the way he wants to do it. And he has a following that loves him, adores him, and would literally do whatever for him. They follow him like that, right? Where they're not going to give Netflix and streaming services that they pay for every month, you know, views on what Netflix and Warner Brothers is looking for views on. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like this person isn't nothing. So when I wanted to talk about this is because of the fact that this is a person that holds that much power and that much influence. And for him to double down on what he said when he said it, and as ignorant as the first special was, you know, and for him to have like no introspection and then say that, you know, the main problem is it's corporate America and they just don't want me to release this documentary and shit. And it has nothing to do with the things I'm saying or whatever. As if those same people, those same types of executives don't look at Dave Chappelle saying like ugly, ugly, ugly things about the gay and trans community and saying that might not be the best business strategy for us to go behind this guy. Now, he brings up a lot about how like the head of Netflix hasn't left him to the wayside, which is bullshit in itself because the head of Netflix has the most controversial like comedy special of his time right now on his platform, right? He's not going to like delete the closer off. Like he's not going to delete the thing off of Netflix. I'm sorry, guys. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. He's making too much money from it right now. He's not standing behind Dave Chappelle. He doesn't give a fuck about Dave. He's just not. He's just making too much money. And so Dave is being like super insincere. And the reason why I didn't want to get this in depth with Dave on this subject, because Claire's right. We should be talking more about like, you know, the harm it causes and actual trans issues. And I really wanted to start this topic off with the disclaimer that I'm not the best on trans issues. Like I'm not Captain Trans Issues over here.
To be honest, I don't think any of us should talk. We should have a guest because it's not our place. We really should. That's the one place where all of us in the circle right now literally have no experience nor right.
I don't know all the things I probably should know about trans issues. I don't know all the things I probably should know about gender and sexuality. For what I do know is what I am expressing, right? And for what I do know,
which is what we do, which is what we do.
Yeah, which is what we do. And for what I do know about the subject, this is for what I do know and what I have still yet to learn, this is where I come from about the whole thing. That's where I came from last time, you know, and I probably should have said that disclaimer anyways, because I don't want to become like the face of anything, you know. Show's not that popular for me to be that anyways, but like I don't feel like
Well, you're certainly not going to be the face of trans issue.
No, but straight people do that. Like cis people, straight people take over an issue. They say like a bunch of stuff about any type of issue, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to hear from them about it. And I feel like you should like go listen to actual like trans people about these issues. Like beyond this conversation, like you should actually listen to actual trans people about, like, if you want to be a good person about this whole Dave Chappelle thing, like that's what you should really be doing, is like you should be trying to find out what trans people actually think, not just maybe the trans people like Dave Chappelle does, but like actual trans thought, like people who are offended and why they're offended about it, why they're calling Dave transphobic, why people are calling him homophobic. You know what I mean? Like, get into it. But what Dave is preying on, and what a lot of powerful people in Dave's position, because Dave isn't the last or the first to do this, is the fact that people relate to somebody who isn't perfect, right? Dave is preying. I say he's preying on that because he really doesn't give a shit about this issue. Like, he says what he says about it, and he makes his money off of it, and then he doesn't really care if it causes anybody any harm at the end of the day about it. Like, he goes back to his 2 or 3 like trans people and like, hey, was I good on that? Good. Like, and then like that's it. You know what I mean? And we all like, there's so many of us that don't understand like issues of gender, sex, and trans issues, period. Like, there's so many of us where it would be so easy to just like go with our preconceived notions of what it's like to be a trans person and our prejudices about that, and then just have the rest of our day. And all Dave did was, he was the most powerful person in the room. And in a lot of rooms, when he goes on that special, he's the most powerful person in the room. And so therefore he validates these anti-trans ideas and these homophobic ideas from that position. That's kind of why I wanted to talk about that, is because the amount of power that he brings to the conversation, he uses ignorantly and like for the complete, like for just bad, is for wrong. Like, it doesn't help anybody. Like, to have anti-trans stereotypes regurgitated from the mouth of a comedian as powerful as he is just emboldens people deeper into their transphobia, deeper into their confusion about the issue, deeper into their ignorance about the issue, and whatever feelings that they had already about it. And this is why I said I agree with Claire, because as angry as she was about it, it makes me that angry. Because it makes me that angry because I know the impact it has on people. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't know if anybody was trying to say something. So that's why I
no, I'm pretty good.
It was like everybody took a deep breath.
No, Claire took a deep breath. I was just like chill, because I like still honestly navigate how I really feel about it between like the line of like sensitivity and what's actually going on, and it being comedy or it being not, and it being offensive, and of course not wanting to offend people, but then feeling how I was feeling hearing some of the things he was saying, while not myself being actively transphobic, but now having to actually navigate through what I'm actually like feeling on issues. Because there's a lot of things I thought were like not cool, but then there's other points where I was like, okay, I agree with most everything you say in terms of him having the power and why it's like, and why it wasn't okay how he went about things. So there is no denying that.
I would just like to say, so my sweet boy, my sweet boy. So he was talking to me about it, and he was like, I don't understand how he doesn't get it. And I was like, yeah, neither. And he was like, no, I mean, he's black. And I was like, I looked at him and I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, he knows what it's like to watch or have white stand-up comedians as friends and use him as the token example and be like, oh, we're comedians. He's not black. I'm not white. We're just comedians. And then he went and did the exact same thing with that poor woman who died.
Right.
No, carry on.
Why is this not a good example? Because it's basically the exact same story.
Not a good example for him because
I like how she knew what you were going to say before you said it because I didn't know.
Like,
but like Claire has you like pegged.
I just think it's really like I get that we're white. I get me and Ben are white, but that doesn't mean we don't see things.
No,
and that doesn't mean we don't understand things.
That's not what I'm saying. I said it's not a good example because Dave, as a comedian and comedians like him, actually believe that.
I mean, like, I know they do, but that doesn't make it right. That's not an excuse.
It's right. You said like, how does he not understand it? In terms of like, for them as comedians, as the art, like, and I've heard Dave say that before. Like he's heard many a stand up that could be, but the thing is, other than just getting mad about it or just being like, yo, that wasn't cool. They go back and he said this, like, we don't sit here and make speeches or whatever. We go backstage and we talk about it. You don't get that in our society in general and stuff like that. And that's not what we're getting in terms of like what's happening between trans people right now and Dave. But I'm saying that's not a good example for right now when your sweet boy, which I love how you call him your sweet boy, goes, why doesn't he not get it? It's because he's not looking at it at the way you are. He's not looking at it the way anybody else is.
That's frustrating in itself.
Because it's like I would like to say, why doesn't he like get it? Why doesn't he get it? But Dave does get it. And that's part of the problem. Like Dave would never let a white person
ever say anything like that
around him in his circle like this. Mm-hmm. Like I find it very hard for me to believe that would just be like Dave in that moment. Like he wouldn't have anything to say about it. And then even the fact that like, you know, like as he says that like
I'm not even saying that.
But saying that even saying what I'm saying is, Mitch, even saying that like you would take that backstage and then hash that out with that comedian is saying that you would understand that there would be a problem.
That was wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong. That there's a problem there. That something happened that we need to have a conversation about. Because if we don't have a conversation about it, I'm just going to have to end up kicking your ass about it. You know what I mean?
That's not necessarily. See, you're all trying to get into his head, and from what I'm hearing from him, and as I've seen him, that's probably not the way he'd go about it. The fact is, whether it was offensive or not,
he probably wouldn't get violent about it. But and
mind you, he's going to listen to the entirety of it in the first place anyway. Yes, and then what happens afterwards? It's not even like, yo, I'm going to do something about it. The fact, because that's just the type of dude that he is.
The problem is he's getting upset that they're upset about what he said. And they're trying to confront him about it. They're trying to be like what he would do with a white comedian, be like, that wasn't on. I don't appreciate that. If you're not going to apologize, I'm going to kick your ass. And he's getting angry about it and abusing his power and turning it on their heads and like getting them fired from Netflix and all sorts of fucking bullcrap.
He didn't get them fired from Netflix. He didn't get them fired from Netflix.
Wait, what do you mean?
His words and his
don't get me wrong. It might have been the impetus. He didn't go up to Netflix and be like, fire these motherfuckers. No. But what he did, his actions, his cause created the actions that happened. I just want to talk about it. It makes me so angry.
I know. Calm down for a second. What do you mean he didn't get them fired, Mitch?
Well, basically, he didn't pull the trigger on that. Don't get me wrong. Everybody has the rights to do what they're going to want to do.
He cocked the gun. He put in the bullets.
They put in the bullets. Now, that's their right.
Wait, stop. Everybody stop. Because this is exactly what I saw. Like,
and this isn't what you wanted this conversation to become.
Because
that's fair.
This argument right here is right where we need to be. Is that when Mitch says, no, they put in the bullets. And he says, no, they got themselves fired. And Claire says, no, Dave got them fired. This is what I listen to. And this is what I'm hearing. And this is why this is a problem, is that...
It is a problem. Yes, I acknowledge.
Dave said at the beginning of his new clip that the media is trying to frame it as him versus the trans community. And that's not true, which is not true. It is him versus the trans community because of the fact, maybe he doesn't know that. I'm not going to put like intentions on somebody in that way for maybe like the first time in my life. Maybe he doesn't know that, but like...
Sorry, I was just so proud of you.
I know, thank you.
I was trying to be like, now is the one moment when that's just funny.
Gross.
That's literally just
happens. Funny. Maybe he doesn't know that. But this issue very much is Dave versus the trans community because of the fact that he from the very beginning positioned himself as anti-trans, even in his ignorance in his special. He literally says in the special that, after hearing about J.K. Rowling and everything, that he's Team TERF. Like, now, some people took that a little too far, I think, because I think Dave's just ignorant as fuck when he says that. You know what I mean? I don't even think he knows what the fuck he's talking about when he says it.
I don't.
But
actually.
The fact that,
I don't actually, but continue.
Okay, then that's worse. Then let's say he does know what he's talking about. Then he is more anti-trans than he even wants to admit. Because the fact that you could say that you are a TERF and then say, I'm not doing anything anti-transphobic and I'm not doing anything to harm somebody, when TERFs actually hate people and they actually hate trans people. Like, it's not the way he described it. They actually do hate trans people.
It's not just the Caitlyn Jenner winning the Women's Award.
Yeah,
it's actual hate.
And they contribute to actual I can't talk today. Systemic oppression.
Yeah.
Against trans people, when you have things like bathroom bill laws and other types of things that like exclude trans people from society, it comes from TERFs. These are the rich white women that have the money to line the pockets of politicians to make that shit happen. You know what I mean? To give it the power that and voice that needs to happen. So that's why I said maybe he doesn't know all that because he didn't really express all that. But
no,
in the special, but if he does, like, it's even worse. But like what I'm saying is, when I'm listening to you guys talk about, the people that did the walkout at Netflix, it is Dave versus trans people, because if we can have a side that says, Dave didn't get those people fired, these people started this shit, and it's like, well, how did they start the shit? Were they just like sitting home being trans and then they heard like Dave talking about trans people? Or was it like they just mind their own trans business? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how did they start this shit? Like, where did trans people start this?
No one's saying they started the shit. So, and I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying, like, so listen, The fact of the matter is, and if this was my predicament and like I had protested, some issue and I lost my job because of that, yes, my job is an asshole for firing me, but I still knew that was going to happen and chose to do that. That's literally my power to do that. And mind you, I shouldn't be shamed for that either. I'm not shaming them. I'm just saying, like, that was their decision to make. They have that power. They wanted to make a statement. That's part of the statement.
I hear where you're coming from, but he did get them fired in the light that they work for a company that supports this. Let's say this. I work for a company that supports something like they have a new sponsor and the new sponsor goes on this new commercial of theirs and he just says, nigger, 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 nigger for like 50,000 times in the commercial. And then I go to my job and I said, hey, that's fucked up. And then I'm like, I don't want to work today if that's what y'all support. And then my job says, bye. That is indicative of not just the place I work at, but also the person that they sided with.
Yep.
That is that. Like,
that's true, but that's also, and once again, I guess that's just kind of who I am. That's still my choice. I'm going to leave because I don't support this. I may rally against you.
Because I think most people think that like your workplace, maybe misguidedly think that like your workplace cares about at least the optics of caring about you. You know what I mean? Like if like hundreds of trans employees and LGBTQ employees and employees that just fucking side with them are outside of the building and it becomes a major story, like they at least in their minds while they're outside think that Netflix gives a damn enough to say, hey, here's all these gay people outside and they're saying that we're actually being anti them. And Netflix was like, fuck y'all.
Netflix is getting a really bad reputation. So here's the thing. For the last 5 years, there's been a lot of LGBT content going through content. Netflix.
Yeah.
And then more recently, and this isn't anything to do with Dave Chappelle, this is just recently, this isn't a bit against Netflix. There's been a very stereotypical friggin' piece of shit, honestly. Like, it's a terrible show about, like, gay stereotypes and stuff, and, like, it's about, like, gay spies or whatever it is. I can't remember what it's called, but I gave it a go.
I think I know what you're talking about. I've seen.
Yeah, I genuinely try and give various content a go. I also really like adult cartoons, so I gave it a go, and it was absolutely horrible. It made me so uncomfortable, and I just couldn't finish watching it. I only watched like 2 episodes because it just made me so uncomfortable. And I don't know if they've just hired like a new senior staff member who's just a fucking piece of shit or what, but that's not the first time I've seen something like that. Like, there was something else that came out a little while ago that only got 1 season it wasn't that as big of a deal as that TV show, but it called like a person who likes to drag a trans woman, and was just very misguided in its information. Like, it just was giving out all this misinformation. And for 2021, that's just not good enough. You know, it's obviously not the worst of the worst, but for 2021, that's just still not good enough. You know, when we have all this information at our fingertips, you know. That
brings up another.
And then on top of that, there's the whole fucking Dave Chappelle issue. And it's like, who is backing this crap?
Right.
You know, like, I'm not out here trying to say cancel Netflix, but I might just casually cancel fucking Netflix if it just doesn't up its game, you know? Like, it's just not giving out good content anymore. All the good content I like from it is slowly dwindling.
And that's a valid feeling that Claire brings up. But my point is that, like, I don't think that Claire is the only person that feels that way, but Netflix is willing to roll the dice on, like, Dave Chappelle instead. And I think that says a lot about Netflix. You know, I think that says a lot about that company. Like, it's gross to me in a way. Like, but more than that, I feel like Netflix took like a temperature. They see that a lot of people are with Dave. This is also why I wanted to kind of center this conversation about Dave. And next episode, we can do more without Dave.
I feel we shouldn't bring it up so soon, but also, like, I feel if we really, because that's one thing I wanted to bring up with Claire talking about, because she's like, it's 2021, there's a lot of misinformation. And it's like, well, the fact is, and we bring up the LGBTQ, and then we want to act like they're all the same. They are not. There's a lot of misinformation in terms of the transgender community because, well, there's so many letters, but there's a lot of misinformation in terms of the transgender community because so many new things are happening. Right. Lots of things are changing. They're experiencing that. We are not. And even with this special, the reason it's so controversial because people are split on how they really feel. And for us here, once again, we're talking on trans issues, which once again, and I will say this as many times as it takes, not a single one of us has the right to really speak on them. We don't really understand what's going on. And if we really want to have that conversation, we have to actually have a guest and have the conversation.
Okay, well, this is my stance on being, and this is as a white bisexual cis woman. This is where I stand in the world. And I feel like if I don't say something for anybody who I genuinely consider my friends, I genuinely consider my equals, then I'm not doing my job. I don't care about the word ally. I don't care about the word. I'm not out here for clout. Like, I don't give a shit what you think about me. But at the end of the day, if I say, I'm going to sit here and say I care about people, I'm going to say something when something's fucked up, and I disagree with it.
And Claire, and honestly, no, I'm sorry. Continue.
You're okay. I just get really frustrated when it's like, oh, this isn't my. That's just there are
trans people who came out and then said that they didn't see anything wrong with what Dave said, or things like that, right?
Which still is not the point. And Claire, I think what you said was amazing. That's not even what I'm saying. The point is, we're at a time and place right now where people really need to get honest in navigating how they feel about certain issues, certain people, certain practices, certain movements, and stuff like that. I never want
to take an opinion out of someone's mouth and put it in my mouth and share it. Like, that's not my intention.
That's fact. But the thing is, Claire, we, especially us three for this specifically, are kind of going to have no choice but to do that. And I hate to keep like harping on it, like we should definitely have someone on the show, but it's just like, we're getting to a point in time, even though it's 2021, where it's like, you can't just be out here like, yeah, I want to defend that person, so I'm going to say how I feel, because how you feel on it may not specifically be what that community needs to hear or what's helpful to them or how they really feel. And it's just like, as we're sitting here talking about this, and this is the reason I'm also like, shit, how do I do this? How do I talk? Because like, I believe in human rights, period.
What you're describing right now is exactly how I feel about talking about the Aboriginal people or Black people or anybody who isn't white. That's exactly how I feel. When what you're talking about right now and how you feel about talking about these trans issues is how I feel when I don't mean to keep comparing race and trans and this.
No,
I don't mean to, but there are so many similarities.
I understand where you're coming from. Yeah.
No, I get it as well.
Yeah.
And Claire, mind you, that's not even what I'm trying to say, because I'm not saying I'm not willing to talk. I'm always willing to talk. It's just I'm in a space now where it's like, actually, I think I need to chill on talking as much unless someone's in horrible, abject danger, and I got to hear from that person. Because like you say, you feel that way about speaking on the Aborigines and on the Aboriginals and everyone.
Aboriginal. I know.
Really I was like, should I say that? No.
Don't say
but
that.
I misspoke. Thank you. So, you feel that way about Aboriginals and Black people, but at the same time, you want to get to a place where you feel like you can understand. You're getting to that place because of your friendship with Logan and, now with me. And I hope you get to a space where you're comfortable speaking, because at the end of the day, we as human beings cannot get to a point where we can't talk about each other in some capacity. So I don't even want you to feel that way. But I just don't think us three were at that, because my experience with trans people is limited. I've had trans friends before, but I wasn't really super close. And this issue right now, like, this isn't what Dave did. Like you were talking about, there's a lot of issues going on, but Dave really brought the conversation to the forefront. How do we really feel about trans people? How do trans people feel about themselves? How do trans people feel about themselves in relation to, cisgender people? And it's just like, as I'm sitting here, hearing all of you, and we're all coming from places, or good places. At least I think we're coming from good places. I hope we're coming from good places. But the truth is, I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, are we? Are we the ones who really should be speaking? We can't take lead on this, guys.
I mean, I think I don't think we're taking lead, because I don't think so.
Before the show, I want to speak on that. I want to speak on whether or not we're taking lead on it, because before the show, like Claire said that she didn't want to talk about Dave Chappelle because hold on. That she didn't want to talk about Dave Chappelle because she didn't want to add more fuel to the fire, and I'm just like, one of my points that I didn't get to say to Claire was that one of my points I didn't get to say to Claire was that Claire. This is the Milk and Toast podcast, and we're like a very tiny podcast, and like the fuel is not that much. Like it's like somebody going like on the fire. It's like it's not like our influence is not that great.
And so I just felt like
to that point, Claire, what I meant to why I'm bringing it up is because like to Mitch's point, he's like, we're not really taking lead. We're really in the back.
That's just my personal.
We're like way in the back. We're not really taking lead about.
Keep that in mind. We're in the back now. This podcast tends to keep going. Mm-hmm. People will listen to things that have come up in the past.
No, I understand, and I hope and dream and wait for our jump off. You know what I mean?
And when they do listen back, if they're a trans person, I don't want them listening back and thinking that, like, by any way that we sided with Dave. I don't want them listening back and thinking by any way that we, like, this is why I was so harsh on the all men thing when that was a whole thing back in the day, because I was like, you have to be sure that whoever's listening isn't feeling attacked, because this is what's happening when you're trying to build a fan base. If your intention isn't to attack, you have to be sure that's what's coming across,
But the thing is, a lot of cis and straight people will hear us take a position against Dave and have a position against us because of their feelings with trans people and things like that. Okay, like, hold on. Wait, because you were saying, like, when you're trying to build a fan base, the best way to build a fan base would be if, like, we came on here and we just said everything everybody else has been saying for the last 2 weeks and praising Dave and everything. And it's like, that doesn't sit well in my soul. Yeah. And that was why I wanted to say something at all, is because this thing is really just rolling down the hill really fast. And
I know.
And I didn't want to not say something because of the fact that this is a person with influence, and this is a person that people feel like they could trust.
I just feel like when it comes, just quickly jumping back to the whole like fan base thing, I am the B in LGBT.
Okay.
And I don't want anyone who's against the LGBT listening to my podcast or following me or being my fan. Like, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
Don't forget the cue.
You know, so
there's a lot of other letters, but so you can't really say don't forget though when there's like they can be like
I didn't have time. I'm trying to say something quickly.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry. This is funny.
Okay, now my point is, and I just wanted to defend, I'm not trying to pander to trans people against Dave Chappelle.
Mm-hmm.
I am on that side because of who I am and where I stand in life.
Right.
You know, and I don't want people who I'm on the side of and who I genuinely care about and who I'm friends with. Like, I'm friends with people who identify as gender fluid and transgender. I don't want them feeling like I'm not on their side. So I am pandering to an extent, but it's not like these people are pandering to Dave because they don't know Dave.
Yeah.
You know, I know these people. I'm in it with these people.
And I don't think you're trying to
walk down the street with these people.
I don't think
it's different.
I don't think you're trying to pander to Dave, Mitch. I think you do offer.
Sorry, I didn't mean to insinuate that.
No, I didn't
take it that way.
I
I was just listening to it. I was like, okay, Claire.
No, because I could see somebody listen to it and then like, you know. But no,
I could explain that. So it's
hold on.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll let you explain in a second.
Yeah, I don't have to.
I don't think you're trying to pander to Dave, but there is that going on where like people are talking to like the most powerful person in the room and being like, I got your back about this. You don't have to worry about them coming to get you. You know what I mean? And that's to me what makes it all the more a little bit ridiculous, which is like Dave is good. He's $60 million good.
Yeah.
Like he is fine. Like he's saying that like he can't go to like the offices of Netflix. Boo hoo. Like go home, Dave. Like it's nice there. Like, you know,
cry in your mansion.
Like cry in your very nice house. You know what I mean? Like I wish I had a mansion and not go to work. You know what I mean?
And have a good cry, like with your fucking automated popcorn
like, what does
maker.
He need to go into the offices of Netflix for, anywace? Like, that's what I was also
talk
thinking.
To
like,
that dude, I guess I don't know.
Like he can't just Zoom them. Like
yo, they talking shit on my block, bro. Like do something.
Yeah, right. But yeah, go ahead, Mitch.
No, I was just so like, and because I'm being very honest and transparent about this. Yeah. Like I saw the special. I told you how I felt about the special.
Right.
I obviously don't acknowledge how Dave made trans people feel. It's just sadly there was some parts of the special that had me going, I've never actually been able to really think about that. There is a certain type of way I feel, but there is, I mean, it's all in the cast. It's all on the special. It's all in the streets. There is no acknowledging the effect he's had on the trans community. Right. Like they're feeling pain. We have to acknowledge that. I wish there was more genuine conversation happening, because what I did learn from the special regardless is that the Black and trans communities, mind you, I really feel for the Black trans people, because how do they really feel in truth?
Yes.
But there isn't enough dialogue happening between the Black and trans communities is what I really was learning. And then myself as a Black man, I was like, Claire, I don't even want to really talk about that, because all of it's just like his friend that passed, and it's like we really failed her. All of this is getting drowned out because people are angry. Mind you, the special was like offensive in ways, but for me, it's like there are more important things to focus on than just how, because if you're incited by it, it's like, wow, you're in one way kind of like doing exactly what was wanted of you.
Well,
but which doesn't matter. I don't want to get on that. I don't want to get on that because that doesn't matter at all. The point is, it's just like I'm really sad, and there's a dialogue that I now realize needs to be happening. There's emotions I feel that I'm like, whoa, did I really feel like that? What's going on with me? And I imagine trans people are experiencing something the same way, because the Black community, in truth, while yes, of course, we've always have phobias in terms of LGBT in the Black community is also the same community on the other side that's like, hey, we're here because we know how struggle is. Black Lives Matters is in full support of the Black community and LGBTQ issues, you know what I mean? And we're also that community that's like, yo, we're here to help you. But here is this larger disparity. And it's like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And rather than focusing on that, we've gotten caught in the trap again, is how I personally feel. The trap of like, I'm distracted by the emotions that I'm feeling, but we're not getting to the real roots of the problem. How do we do that?
This is a part that really hurts me, because I think about when you brought up black trans people,
Bro,
I think about that a lot, especially when it comes to this issue, because Dave takes this issue, right, and he frames it as if he's got
like
no other choice
problem.
and like this is like, what else should he say about it, you know? And it's like, for a person with his power and his position, right, to come out and say the things he did about the community and say about that community, don't mean to misspeak like that, but like to say the things he did about that community and then say, like, you know, that this is all just about like people not wanting him to say whatever he wants to say. It makes me hurt for people, because it's like, if you look at cases where like black trans women are murdered, most of the time black trans women are murdered by other black men. Like,
Yep.
just like that's a fact, right?
Not only that, but they're betrayed by other black women.
I'm not trying to like make this weird black on black crime type thing.
No.
That's not what this is about.
That does not exist.
Thank you. That's not what this is about. What it is about is that like,
it's just crime.
What it is about is that like, that's something that like a person in a position of power can like speak to. Like a person in a position of power and a platform can talk about, and like maybe help those people in that predicament. Maybe help people become more tolerant of these people and make them more accepting of what's going on with them in their life. But instead, what this person does is they blame them for not necessarily agreeing with everything they say, and then saying that they're trying to somehow take something away from them because of the fact that you won't just pick up a book and learn about somebody else's life. You know what I mean? Like, you rather like say all the old ignorant stereotypes about these people when these people actually need help. And for somebody of that, like Mitch says that, like, you know, it's a distraction, it's a waste of time. And in a way it is like
Unfortunately,
he's made like this distraction about it. But the problem is that like those same type of men, those men that kill black trans women, they're TERFs too. Right? Mm-hmm. I don't mean like they're feminists, like, you know, radical feminists, but like they are anti-trans people, right? They have their own feelings about trans people and whatnot, and it leads to the deaths of trans people. And Dave just happens to be the biggest one in the room. And that's my problem about it. It's not that I'm accusing Dave for like murdering anybody, but I am accusing him of justifying the feelings of a lot of people who feel anti-trans. You know what I mean? And a person in his position and with his position in power shouldn't do that. Not if they want to be the good guy in the scenario. That's what I mean. Like, you can. There's obviously politicians who make laws against trans people. There's politicians of like major renown who have gotten millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people to vote for them. You know, people with power and influence just the same. People who have actual systemic power and influence who are against trans people, right? But that's still no different than what Dave is doing, because Dave is just riling up the same people that vote those people in. I don't know how many Ben Shapiro's and right wingers I saw like people on Fox News and stuff like celebrating Dave Chappelle. Like, imagine that. Like, people on Fox News of all places in the world celebrating Dave Chappelle. Like, that's where we are right now.
I don't think he can. I don't know. So that's
we should.
Okay. So I'm not saying he shouldn't be allowed to consider himself a minority anymore, but when you reach that level of power, can you really speak for the people anymore? Can you really say that, like, you know what it's like to be as discriminated against as a black trans woman. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to.
No, he can't say that he knows what it's like to be discriminated as like a black trans person, but he still can be discriminated as like a black person. Like, he's still
of course.
a minority.
I wasn't trying to take that away. That's why I said
he's still like I know, like, you were trying to like ask the question, but like he's still. Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I feel where Claire's coming from. Though.
No, I'm just saying, like, he has so much power now. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to take away his minority status. That's what I was saying at the beginning. Like, I'm not trying to say that. And I knew you'd get fucking so focused on that. That's why I tried to word it in a different way.
I was trying to clear it up, to be honest. But yeah, go say what you're trying to say.
But when you have power like that,
how does that work being in a minority? Like being a minority?
Logan. No. It's more like, can you still relate?
I knew you would focus on minorities so hard. Like, I knew you would just jump on that word.
Because you said that, and I was like, okay.
Claire,
I'm allowed to say a word without you freaking hyper-focusing on it.
Which she's right about. But Claire, I think what you're trying to say is, can he really still relate to those problems?
Can he even relate
does he really
to
still
black people problems, like you guys' problems? Can he even relate to that? Can he even relate to what it's like to go hungry once a night every couple of weeks because you just didn't spread your money out?
He can relate.
Can he relate to that?
Logan,
I'm
wait.
pretty sure he's eating pretty well every day. He might have done that back in the day, but now.
Well, that's why I say he can relate to it.
He can still relate to black people problems, but he can't relate to being in poverty.
No,
is what I was going to say. He can relate to black people in poverty, but I just meant, like, do about that. Could
he relate to someone like you guys? And I was just going off what I know about you guys. No offense, but unfortunately, you guys are also in poverty. So,
but watch what you talk about, all right? I ain't got to pay rent till March. We ain't got to talk about that.
I think you can be a rich person and still relate to somebody who is impoverished. You know, if I take like Steve Harvey, for example, like Steve Harvey does like all types of fucking gigs. And then like they ask him like, why are you like on the TV all the time? Like, why are you doing like Family Feud? And then like you're on your own TV. To be broke. Like you're doing all this bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. And Steve Harvey, I believe, said one time, it's because I've been poor before, I'm not going back. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's like it's not like the memory goes away when you wasn't eating.
No, like, but it does get smaller.
For some people, like who used to be in that position, that's trauma enough for them to sometimes be harmful. And it's sometimes enough trauma for them to, like, I think that's what trips people up about a lot of like people in those positions that came from less and came from a less dominant place in society, is that why they turn on like their communities or something like Candace Owens or somebody like that is like, that's the definition of selling out, is that like you were there and like your idea of getting out of that was to sell out, was to sell yourself out, was to put a dollar price on your dignity and say, this is what I'm willing to receive, so I just don't have to experience this again. You know what I mean?
No, I get that. I do, because I am also impoverished.
I too am also impoverished.
And an ex-sex worker, so
I get it. But, I actually get where you're coming from, Claire, though. I get the point you're trying to make.
I wasn't trying to insinuate, just to clarify, that black people are impoverished. I was referring to my two friends who are
yo, stop calling us impoverished on the cast. Let everybody know I'm broke. Thanks. You know what I'm saying? Goddamn, yo. God, all right, like
you have to learn to what they think you're out here like making it. Like
I live in New York. You know I live in New York. What you talking about? I'm a professional actor. You know,
all I'm gonna do is watch a YouTube video and then
don't you fuck up my clout, Claire. Don't you fuck up my clout, Claire.
Damn, Shigo really not gonna talk to you now.
Yo, I'm saying, bro, like fucking up all the clout.
What clout?
Anyways, we have to move on.
Move on.
We have to like Logan, get out of here.
We have to go. We spent way too much time on the. I honestly enjoyed the conversation because there was something that needed to say, but we spent a lot of time.
In all transparency, though, when we're talking
still frustrated me.
And when Mitch is saying that, you know, we should have a trans person on the show, I do like that idea.
I'm not against that idea.
I'm not against that idea.
I'm just not going to censor myself until they do come on the show.
I'm very hesitant.
I'm not asking you for that. That's not how you have a proper dialogue. Censorship doesn't help anything. It's just
sometimes.
Well,
sometimes
I mean, we don't want to offend anybody. Yeah, of course. But I'm not telling you to be a different person. I'm just saying for this specific topic, especially
you were
now.
saying though that we shouldn't talk on about it until they come on the show, and I'm not interested in censoring myself until they come on the show.
Yeah, I don't think that's the right response.
That's not what I'm
either.
saying per se either. I'm just saying like we get to these places and it's like, oh, guys, like. Because, you know, it's just how you felt, Claire. Because I know you wouldn't speak on Black issues. I wouldn't speak on Australian ones. And I'm not saying we can't have an opinion on what we feel on certain things. It's just, I feel like we're getting to a place where we're almost putting words in people's mouth. And I'm like, I don't know if I feel okay with that.
You mean like putting words in people's mouths as far as like, is this transphobic or not?
Well, to the trans person, for the trans person at least, where it's like we're kind of putting ourselves in their shoes.
That's what I wanted to say just now was that, like, in all transparency, like, I don't mind the idea. I'm very hesitant about the idea, though, as far as bringing somebody on and letting them be the spokesperson of trans people.
That's not what I want to do either.
I know. Yeah. So often that's what happens on shows and stuff is like, here's our resident Black person. What do they think about it? And then like they agree with the bullshit and they're like, well, bullshit must be okay. Like, you know what I mean? So that's the one thing in the world that I don't want to have happen. Not that like we would probably have somebody like that on, but like somebody who's like into trans issues and like is a trans person, has a nuanced idea or like take on it. I wouldn't mind, I wouldn't mind at all like having them on the show if I knew somebody like that. I've had trans friends in the past and now I don't have any because they moved away and stuff. But like,
which is for understanding.
Well, that's the thing. They're like, people.
Yeah, and also like
exactly.
Crazy. Right?
That doesn't mean I would like be like go outside like, you trans person, like come in here, like you know what I mean? Like,
okay, jokes aside,
cis woman who has really hairy knuckles.
Jokes aside, all jokes aside, because we shouldn't do that. The thing is, I'm not saying it in that way. It's just I say it specifically for this issue because it's a very sensitive topic at a very sensitive time.
No, what I was going to say about it though is that like I understand we don't know everything. That's why I wanted to make the disclaimer, like what in the middle of me speaking, that like I don't know everything about trans issues. But at the same time, from what I do know, what I have picked up about what is transphobic, and just from like living my life and knowing what homophobia is and what transphobia is and those things. And because the special was so low-hanging fruit about a lot of those things.
Easy to say that was transphobic. Like I feel like that was
like
so obviously. Like like you were saying, if some white guy came on and started yelling the N-word, even I would be like,
that's kind of racist. Like we wouldn't need a resident Black person for that if we were all white. You know what I mean? Like you don't need like a resident Black person to be like, hey, is white people saying the N-word racist? Like, you know what I mean? So like a lot of the shit that like he said was really blatantly transphobic. You know what I mean? Like him siding with TERFs and then like saying that, look for hairy knuckles and like things like that. Like it's like old school transphobia. Like it's really shit that we've learned past. But it would be beneficial to the show to have somebody on who could speak to those issues.
I don't think anyone was saying it wouldn't be beneficial.
From a lived perspective of it. You know what I mean? From what it's like to have somebody, to hear somebody devalue you in that way. I can't speak to because I'm not going through it, but I know what it is to feel like devalued as a human being because of who I am, because of my skin color, or because of my position in life, or what have you. You know what I mean? I can speak to that end, and I can speak to that aspect of what Dave Chappelle is saying, and I don't need like a trans scientist to decrypt. Like it wasn't like you know what I mean? It wasn't like that. But like at the same time, it would be great for the show for somebody to come on and say something. You know what I mean?
And I think one of the important things to remember is I'm one of those people who like if I say something and then someone comes up to me and says you can't say that, I will ask why. I'm not just going to accept that because I am a curious cat who wants to actually learn and not just be a parrot. And I'll ask why. And if they don't want to tell me, I'll find out for myself why. Right. And then I'll know why, and then I will make a decision on whether or not I agree with that. 9 times out of 10, I'll agree with it. But that's the thing. I am one of those people who is very independent and reasonable. But I'm independent. So I'm not just going to bend down and take whatever you say I can and can't say.
Nor should you.
You know, like when it comes to like Logan and stuff, he'll be like, "Oh, I don't like you saying that." I'll be like, "Why?" He'll tell me why, and I'll be like, "Why not?" And then like sometimes I want more information, and he'll just keep giving me information, and I'll be like, "Okay, now it makes sense." But that's called learning. That's called, and I'd rather do that than just accept something and not actually know the reasons why. You know,
and that's also called our relationship because there's not a lot of people I would do that for. You know what I mean? Like this
Logan
very
might cut you off. Like,
this is
but
select.
at least you know, I would never ever say the N word. At least you know that I never ever do like ABC. You know what I mean? Like, because even though you put in the effort, it was worth the money. Like,
right.
This is just me specifically. No one has to do this for anybody else. No one else is worth the investment. No, I'm kidding. Claire's they might be. But Claire definitely is.
Yeah, Sarah's not. It's cool. I'm kidding.
That was not what I said. That was putting words in my mouth. She's better than me anyway. Not even in a bad way, just true. Like as a person.
You know what? I don't know. Sarah, like low key, is like evil, like too.
Oh no! Shut up. That's what all boyfriends say about their girlfriends when they're in love with them.
That's not true.
That's what I've seen.
That's not true.
Okay, says the guy saying it.
But like, she couldn't be with me if she wasn't. That's the other thing.
I was going to say that. And B, I was also going to say she's low-key evil in that way that's like kind of like socially acceptable.
Yes.
Where like
that's the
people
crazy
contemplate
part.
whether or not they should burn me with fire. They just let her walk through. Like
they're like, like people come to Claire's house and they're like, y'all just letting her walk around and shit. Like
unsupervised, really?
Like, what the fuck is this shit?
Well, all right.
Wow, y'all
are there any printers
different
around?
In here. Listen, let's get out of here. Because we really should have got out of here long. Late. Like, see, this is Dave's fault too for making us stay. So you can blame him for that shit. Claire, do you have anything you want to leave the people with?
Yeah, just I hope everybody knows that, like, as evil as I am, the education and the questions I do ask is me trying to be a better person. So hopefully I have not offended. I'm very observant too, so if you do see or hear me speaking on subjects that I probably shouldn't speak on, and you know that I know I shouldn't be speaking on, but I am just cheekily doing it anyway, it's because I'm trying to educate. And I don't mean to ever take a voice from anybody, but sometimes not everybody. I'm used to people not speaking up out of fear. Like the amount of times people have seen Jesus Christ, it's too late. It's seen something wrong but not said anything because they were too scared to, and I've done that. It's countless. So that is what I'm doing. It's never malintent when it comes to that sort of stuff. I do care about people. Hope everybody has a good week. I too am going to drink water and take my medication like we all should. I'm actually late on that today, which explains a lot.
I mean, yeah. I should say something. I really should. As a friend, I should be like, "Hey, you
taking
on your meds today?" Like,
because that's happened like a couple of times on the podcast, and I've apologized for it every time. But every time afterwards, it's like
because I'd be thinking it'd be rude to say that, you know. But it's really like
important, right?
Important. Yeah.
With your medicated friends, you actually kind of have to be like, "Yo, did you take your meds today?" And that kind of should be normal. But otherwise, it would be offensive.
Just checking in on them.
Should.
But like anything, it's one of those things where as long as it's coming from a place of care, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole thing.
Because that's really reckless of me to just like let you go off meds and then go on a public forum. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, that's really fucked up.
At least we know this is the worst I get. Actually, no. The other podcast, that was like 5 episodes.
Yeah, that was
the worst I get.
Yeah.
This is the second worst I get. This is a good worst.
Actually, no. This is like the 4th worst.
Is it?
Yeah. You are really
you wouldn't know.
No, yeah. I
Okay.
know.
Oakley dokley, neighbor.
Just laughing about mental health issues.
Well, you gotta.
Probably good for the mental health, honestly.
If anybody knows what it's like to live with a mental illness, laughing is genuinely good. Ask Robin Williams.
I don't think that was the best example.
Yikes. That was not good.
Don't think that was the best example.
I know where you
And
came
the way
from
you
a
went
good
about it
place,
did not.
and
It
you're good,
sounded
and
like
your good
so
heart.
sarcastic.
I know what you meant and where you were coming from, but it just it was
Like not the best example at all.
worst
Rest in peace to Robin Williams.
People don't like my dark jokes. People. Oh yeah, I forget. Everybody doesn't know. I'm actually obsessed with Robin Williams. I own all his movies. I have like all of his old stand-up. So I'm
Phenomenal
actually
actor.
huge Robin Williams fans, but I forget that when I'm on a public forum. Sorry about it. Anywho. So I did make that as a sarcastic joke, but it was a like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah,
Bye. Love you. Have a good week.
I love you. Okay. Ooh, let me pause so I can like edit out us laughing. So like when she says I'm done by, like I don't have to like.
Rest in peace, Robin Williams. Phenomenal actor and comedian.
Mitch, do you have anything you want to leave the people with?
Bless Samhain to everybody that perhaps practices, all my pagan brothers and sisters, and everybody in general. Like it's for
Did you know
everybody.
paganism is actually a Christian term that was made for against several different other religions?
Yep.
Pagan isn't actually a
That's not what we
one
call
type of
ourselves.
religion.
But we reclaimed it like black people reclaim nigga. But like I don't want to get on that.
That
Doesn't
makes
matter.
sense. Yeah.
No, that's literally what happened. And like now it's a
pagan.
oh, and I love it. Yeah, give it to me. Because you ain't gonna catch this one. Anyway, let's silence to everybody. If anybody else like feels the type of way that I'm feeling, we're in 2021 and we thought we'd be better off along than we are now, and we're still having difficulties.
I didn't think that. I knew we'd be equally as fucked, but
when I was growing up, I honestly thought we'd be better off, and we're not surprisingly, unfortunately. But that was cute.
Don't look at my face on the podcast.
I don't like look at him and do that. Anyway, the only thing I want to say is to genuinely authentically navigate what you are feeling and thinking. Don't hide unless it's like really, really fucking like messed up and offensive. But even then you kind of have to deal with that shit and then come to terms with it and find a way to navigate to better. That's about all.
All right. I'd like to leave everybody with basically make time for yourself. Please make time for yourself. Like, make it a purposeful decision to make time for yourself. Like, you're not just a robot and you're not just supposed to produce all the time. Make a time where you're going to watch TV, where you're going to read a book, where you're going to play your games or whatever. Like, make that time for yourself and do not be apologetic about that. Like, that is real shit that you actually need. I don't care what anybody says. That's something that we all need. It's just as important as drinking your water and taking your meds, as Claire would say. Because that, even like taking your meds, please take your meds, but that's not your cure-all. You know, you can't just take your meds and just not do anything for the rest of the day. Like, you know what I mean? So like, that's where I was coming from. That end, Claire. Claire was like, "Where the fuck is he going with this?"
I was letting you speak.
I got you though. You know. Also, I really don't have anything to say about Dave Chappelle. I would like to say that, you know, if you are in a position, right, where everybody's siding with something and you know it's wrong, and if you got just like 2 or 3 good motherfuckers around, right, grab them, talk about what's going on, and speak out. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I really want to say about that. It's not really about Dave so much as it's about all of us. You know what I mean? Like, we all as a collective need to do better, you know? And we all need to start being able to defend the weakest of ourselves in our society and like actually putting a voice to that. It's not enough to like just look at somebody like doing fuck shit and not doing anything about it. Like, we can't just let people just go. Like, a lot of people that are following this trend, I don't think they're doing anything. They believe they're doing anything wrong. And I don't believe that they're purposefully trying to do anything wrong, but they are following down something that they're already comfortable with, because there isn't the status quo is anti-trans, is anti-gay. The status quo is that. You know, we've made so many good strides in that arena, but that is the status quo, you know? And if we want to change that, if we ever want to see that change, we need people that are willing to speak up and say something about that. You know what I mean? We need people that are willing to say like anything, just like say, hey, that's just not fucking cool, or what the fuck do you mean by that, or something. It doesn't have, and you don't need to know a trans person or to have like your cousin be a trans person in order to you to notice that something fucked up is going on with trans people.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not,
like just because some people do know them.
Yeah, and like,
Right.
and like I come from a place where I know that my politics on this issue aren't 100% yet. You know what I mean? Like God's still working on me with a lot of things, and I believe that like that. Yeah. But see, y'all think I don't say things that would make Christians mad, but like that would make Christians mad just then. Just like saying that like God's working on me to be a better Christian so I could be a better person to trans people really fucks up somebody's head just now. But like he is. For me, that is my belief. That is my belief, right? And so like it is a journey for all of us, and we all are trying to get somewhere. But you can't just follow somebody because they're famous and because they're saying the fuck shit that you believe in. You know, don't go from the most powerful person in the room. If you're hearing from the most powerful person in the room about the issue and it's them against some other group and they're the least powerful people in the room, maybe you shouldn't be listening to that person. Maybe you should listen to all the people that said they are offended, and maybe it's okay for them to be offended about that. That's all I really got for that. As always, have a good night, have a good morning, have a good evening, have a good drive to work, have a good lunch, have a good breakfast, have a good whatever time you're using your time to listen to the podcast, to see the podcast or whatever. I don't have a whole lot. Oh, yes. But if you're not subscribed to the YouTube, and I haven't been posting on the YouTube yet because we've had some issues with some of the videos, but like they're coming. I'm going to catch everybody up again. But like if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube yet, you should do that. I'm going to tell you why. Because of the fact that we're going to have YouTube premieres with some of our videos. And if you don't know what that means, it means that you'll be able to chat in live in real time with other people who are watching the podcast or watching the thing wiggle and listening to the podcast. So you'll be able to chat in real time with other listeners about the podcast and about things we say. So if you don't agree about what we're saying about Samhain, or if you don't agree about what we're saying, Samhain. Sorry, Mitch. If you don't agree with things we're saying about that, you think it's just devil shit, or you do agree and you think like, you know, put some respect on it, you know, you can talk about that. You can talk about that with other people who listen, and you can talk about that with probably me, since I'll probably have nothing better to do but watch you guys talk about it, so I'll probably talk back. But that's something that is coming in the future. So definitely, like, as you're sharing the show, like, subscribe to the show on YouTube and share the show on YouTube so other people can see it and also subscribe. That way we can like have live chats about the show. And I think that's just fucking cool. So if y'all want to do that, please do that. That's all I got. Say bye to the people, Claire.
Bye, guys. Say
bye to the people, Mitch.
This might get us in trouble, but just blank it out if it does, because I wanted theme music today. I shall find all the lost pieces of the Master Emerald here.
Not too long, otherwise we'll get copyrighted.
Yeah, you're going to get us copyrighted. What the fuck are you doing? Now I got to cut all that. I hope that doesn't get copyrighted on YouTube. I just said I wanted to do YouTube premieres and you pull this shit. Anyways.
I had to be real.
I'm your host, Logan, and this has been the Milk and Toast Podcast, episode 28. Bye.